Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks to the Vertical Events team for another fantastic event. It's great to be here. And what everything Chrissy just said is true, and I will talk to you about our excellent exploration programs, our world-class JV partners, and our imminent drilling and drill results. I'm going to change tack this morning. I'm going to use the extra 5 minutes I've got this year and provide a little bit of information for the audience, in particular about a metal that is rarely discussed anywhere, let alone at this conference. And there's probably a good reason for that, and it's probably the pronunciation of molybdenum. So, believe it or not, the letter B and D together appear 52 times in the English language. Molybdenum is one of those, and I had no idea there were 52 of them. In terms of pronouncing it, it's really easy. If you learn nothing more from my speech today, molybdenum, molybdenum. And it's quite simple from there. I will get tongue-tied around this later today, no doubt. So famous last words. What's molybdenum used for? It's unique physical properties. It's highly heat resistant, withstanding high temperatures and pressures, which make it an excellent additive to alloys for steel making. It has a wide range of applications in the new era, in particular for turbine applications. So if you're into your wind energy, if you're into your nuclear energy, anything that's got a turbine producing electricity will utilise steel that contains molybdenum. So it has this excellent ability to strengthen steel, used in the backings for solar panels, in your EVs. The traditional uses have been oil and gas, but we're finding more and more molybdenum being utilised in steel to produce better quality steels that last longer. Supply is heavily reliant upon production from China, and I've got some news in the last couple of weeks that I think you'll find interesting and I think presents an opportunity for anyone looking for a new metal investment thesis. It's predominantly a byproduct from copper porphyry systems throughout the world, and what we're finding is those grades of porphyry deposits are declining. Those mines able to produce molybdenum are declining, and overall supply is dwindling, and we've seen that recently. In 2023, the Australian government recognised this, added it to the critical minerals list of Australia. There's not many molybdenum deposits in Australia, surprisingly, but I will talk to you about a couple. Molybdenum prices are currently around $30 per pound, US $66,000 per tonne, and they exceeded $100,000 per tonne in 2023. If you have a look at that graph there, it tells a bit of a tale of the old world of molybdenum. Typically, in years gone past, when molybdenum prices have peaked, those byproduct mines have turned on their molybdenum production and they've sent the prices crashing. And that results in, depressed prices, projects become difficult to finance and get up if they're predominantly molybdenum mines. In the new era, what we've seen is with the supply coming out of the market, predominantly through North America and South America, supply reductions, about 10% of the global markets come off. That supply is now being met out of China from primary molybdenum mines, pushing the cost curve higher, meaning prices are going up, and they'll continue to go up. The analyst there at Bloomberg probably puts it in a more succinct way than I just have, but there really is a perfect storm for molybdenum prices. And Hammer's been a subscriber to this for probably the past couple of years. We did an in-depth study last year into molybdenum, and we, came to this view that the base case price would sit around $18 per pound into the future, not reverting to those long-term prices. And until a couple of weeks ago, you'd probably think, well, that's a nice story, but the price graph says differently. But what we've actually seen is a fundamental change in the market. It's a good reminder, it's not our star focus for us at the moment, but Hammer's Kalman project in Mount Isa is one of the Western world's highest grade undeveloped molybdenum projects at 0.1%. Typically these copper porphyries are 0.01, 0.02%. So for a project in Mount Isa that's got a lot of copper and gold in it, add in some molybdenum, it becomes, I think pretty interesting, especially when I take you through the entire portfolio. But what are the recent developments that I'm talking about? And if you haven't seen the news, on the 4th of February, China announced a tightening of critical minerals, and they announced 5 elements that they were restricting the export control of, similar to the way they have for antimony. And we've seen what's happened to antimony prices, antimony investment, and the 5 elements that they announced, one of them includes molybdenum. Now again, that information is nice to see and interesting, but what does it mean in a practical sense? Well, there's a mine in South Korea, again, about a week ago, they announced a life of mine offtake agreement for their molybdenum coming out of their project. I hadn't seen something like this before, so I thought that that was, pretty impressive that a company is prepared to take a life of mine supply contract out of that operation. What's even more interesting is they set it with a base floor price of $19 per pound. So that is, they will always pay $19 per pound or the market rate, whichever's higher. So I find that incredibly fascinating for the molybdenum world, and I think presents an opportunity for anyone looking for a new metal in their portfolio to have a closer look at molybdenum. Kelman, our cornerstone asset, as I mentioned, 0.1% molybdenum head grade, some 40 million tonnes at around 0.53% copper and 0.27 grams per tonne gold. In terms of this project, at the prices we did our resource model on here, about 60% of the revenue would come from copper and gold and around 40% from the molybdenum. With those molybdenum prices going higher, the economics of this project should look better. Fantastic deposit, high-grade mineralisation at depth, a high-grade core to this type of project, and it has largely been forgotten about because of the historical molybdenum prices with those peaks and troughs. This is a project that I think will garner some interest given what's happening in the molybdenum world. So there's 6 or 7 minutes on the molybdenum market and something, I guess, from an education perspective. I'll talk rapid fire about Hammer and what we've got on the agenda for the near term, and I think that's equally as exciting, if not more. Currently, we have a market capitalisation of $30 million. The $2.7 million in cash at December 31 is complemented by $1.3 million in CEI and R&D tax rebates that we got. We have $3.3 million in listed equity investments within the portfolio currently. We have future payments of up to $11 million in a transaction that we did this time last year. So when you start taking all of those away from the market cap of $30 million, you get the Kelman project thrown in, and there's a few other things that we've got on the agenda. So in terms of team, Russell, myself and Greg are here at the conference today, all got experience with creating value for shareholders and large mineral discoveries. I encourage you to stop by and say hello. It was a busy year last year. I sat on the stage this time last year and we were in discussions with Carnaby at the time about a project in Mount Isa. That culminated in a landmark transaction last year with Carnaby, which has helped them unlock the Mount Hope project. Not only did we do that JV, we signed on new joint ventures with world-class mining companies. Sumitomo Metal Mining, we signed a new JV with over the Bullrush prospect, and I'll talk to that in a second. We signed a new joint venture with South 32 in the Isa Valley, and we've also picked up a lease on an option on a small mining lease where we've recently done some drilling. Each of those projects in its own right was a substantial achievement last year. To accomplish all four, I think we've set the scene for exploration discovery in 2025. Our Bullrush IOCG system, I'm really excited about this prospect. This is a greenfield exploration project that we've had in the portfolio for some time. We've done some excellent geophysical work here, magnetic and gravity anomalies, which all sit within the realms of those properties we'd see for a typical IOCG deposit. Ernest Henry, Olympic Dam, all with similar gravity and magnetic type signatures here. We're dealing with 100 metres of cover. There's been no exploration drilling at this target. The nearest drilling away was in a similar setting by Carnaby and RIU, proving an active breccia copper mineralised system. We have these large magnetic and gravity anomalies sitting within this granitic intrusion, prime target for IOCG mineralisation. Drilling starts here, touch wood, all things being equal with the weather, next week. So that is a system I would be looking out for and one we're eager to explore. Later this year we'll be drilling on the Isa Valley JV with South 32. So this target was entered into a JV with South 32 mid last year. We did some soil sampling and we've managed to define a coincident VTEM and soil anomaly sitting alongside the Mount Isa fault. So anyone that knows their Mount Isa geology will know the sedimentary copper lead zinc system, sedimentary hosted copper lead zinc system that sits there in a very similar setting, similar position, fantastic target. We'll be drilling that in mid this year. So this is another tier 1 type discovery that a junior has got exposure to through an exploration program this year. Very quickly, I'll touch on the transaction with Carnaby Resources last year, unlocking the Mount Hope region and potential there. We're really excited by the Carnaby development. The story will be told later today. I think they've got some drilling coming up at Trecolano. I think that whole greater Duchess development that they're looking at there from a copper perspective is looking super interesting. We have future cash payments upon progress of that project. And again, that will help us unlock the value within our portfolio, our own exploration, and decrease our reliance upon going to our shareholders for additional funding, which we've avoided now for some 18 months with a certain window of 12 months ahead without requiring that additional funding. So I spoke about those JVs. Those JVs aren't all we have. They cover about 1,000 square kilometres out of a total of 3,000 square kilometres. So we still have 2,000 square kilometres in the world's best base metal province to explore in our own right, in our own 100% right, and we continue to do so. We have 5 JORC resources in the region. Kelman was just one of those. There's a couple of others up there that you could look at putting a hub-type development around, and we continue to unearth new copper deposits through our exploration programs there. The Lady Jenny mining lease we picked up last year an option on, so that's the 4th out of those 4 transactions that I referred to. So this is some old oxide workings sitting in Mount Isa that have laid dormant for the last 15 years. We drilled 11 holes here late last year. We expect those assays out any day now. So again, this is near surface mineralisation, previously been mined, previously been transported to processing options around the area, and a nice exploration target for us to add to the mix. And you can see there, this is an overview of the endowment through the region, of the various copper prospects that we have through this region. Drill intersections at the moment that might not be considered economic, 70, 80 metres at 0.3, 0.4% copper. There is literally copper everywhere through the portfolio up here, and it has been both a blessing and a curse from having so many prospects to be drilling, but again, having a lot of smoke in the area, making it hard to distinguish those big discoveries. Nonetheless, we think it's a prime address to be exploring. One of those prime areas we'll be exploring is Turrisome. We had looked to drill here late last year. The rain kept us away. Unfortunately, a couple of creek crossings got too difficult to pass. We'll be drilling this at the conclusion of the diamond drilling program at Bulrush. So this is an RC program on our own 100% owned grounds. Excellent trend of copper and zinc mineralisation that hasn't been drilled to the south. Where we have drilled, I guess, the lower level of anomalism to the north, we've intersected 30 metres at up to 1% copper. We hold pretty high hopes for the southern area here, so well and truly looking forward to drilling that one. Wait, there's more, and I could talk for hours. We do have a WA gold project at the moment. We are doing some work around this and reviewing the prospectivity. Our tenure starts less than 100 metres from the edge of the Bronzewing gold mine. The tenure here, we have managed to build a position which includes some ground just to the north of the Aurelia deposit, which is currently being by Northern Star. Our work here in previous years, in 2024 again, more news, we delivered a 50,000 ounce resource here. Whilst relatively small, it is near surface and offers exploration potential. So we continue to work in the background on this project. I would imagine we'll be back here drilling later this year, looking to further define some targets and deliver some good gold news. We have a significant resource in the bank, 530,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal, which I don't believe is recognised in our market valuation. We've got multiple high-grade copper gold targets within our own right, 100% owned. We have a high-impact exploration project with world-class mining partners. I mentioned Sumitomo Metal Mining, South 32. We have a JV with Glencore. So I can tell you how good our portfolio is, but I think it's validated by the quality of those names that are involved in our projects. We've got a lot of work to be done. We've got a lot of news to deliver. And I think 2025 is the year for Hammer. Thanks all for your attention.